everybody. Welcome to our Cultivate Fertility Food is Mood course. I'm in my home kitchen. You're going to hear a little bit of action with some of my kids because they're home studying. So that's what's happening. And then Dr. Kara is at her home office.
I just got back. I have my scrubs on, so that's why I don't usually wear white every day.
She was doing acupuncture this morning and seeing patients, which is newly opening up in Connecticut. And in California, I'm still sheltering in place mostly and cooking a lot in the kitchen.
That's been one of the nice things about shelter in place is everyone's cooking.
Everyone's cooking.
One of the benefits, right?
Yeah, so we're trying to help our patients, our friends, our clients to find ways that they can use foods to help their mood. Like right now, we find that a lot of people in our lives are struggling with sleep issues, anxiety, grief, fear.
Depression. It's been hard for people. This is a really stressful time. It's hard to have a positive outlook for the future. So I think the food mood talk is really appropriate because there's such a strong gut-mind connection, you know? So I think that's the big piece that people want to know more about. So serotonin, what is it, Hill?
Okay, so serotonin is one of the neurotransmitters in our brain, and you hear a lot about, people know about serotonin because, so let me just step back a little bit. What we're going to do during this webinar is just try to connect, show you sort of this gut-brain connection and give you ways in the kitchen that you're eating foods that keep your gut really healthy and that therefore also work through this gut-brain connection in having your brain be healthy. The healthier our brain is, and if our brain's communicating and firing well, making a lot of serotonin and happy neurotransmitters, then we feel better. So that's kind of where we're coming from. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter. Most people have heard about it because one of the most commonly prescribed medicines for anxiety or depression is an SSRI. That's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which means basically it just keeps serotonin around longer in the brain and can have an effect on anxiety and depression. So we're trying to figure out how, what are the ways that we can do this naturally? So can you, Kara, explain the gut connection with serotonin and brain health?
Right.
Yeah.
I always think about this from this story. Maybe we learned this story in medical school. You'll have to tell me if this is familiar to you. About a patient who had like an infection in the stomach in the hospital in the 60s. And so his stomach was kind of exposed. The skin hadn't grown back. And so every time the doctor crews would come in, they would say, why is it all turning white? Because all the blood flow would go away from his stomach every time the group of doctors would walk in the room. And so they realized that stress pulls blood away from your abdomen and your organs, your vital organs. And so I always think about that with the gut-mind connection a little bit, is that we always know that little kids are stressed because they go to the nurse in grammar school or elementary school and they say, my tummy hurts, right? And it's just a sign of maybe there's some stress at home or they're scared to get on the bus to get home or whatever it is. Stomach aches is what they present with. And we kind of forget this as adults. So, I mean, how many of our patients come in complaining of GI problems, right? And it's because there's a big stress connection with our gut. And really most of our serotonin, that like happy chemical, is in our GI system. So we didn't know that before. We used to think, oh, it's just a neurotransmitter. There are these SSRIs and these chemicals are really good for mood, but really most of that chemical is in our GI system. So there's clearly a connection there. And then when we started looking at probiotics, they've discovered that there are certain probiotics that send signals with our serotonin levels in our gut and make us happy. So that's really interesting because I see, the psychiatrists who send people over to my office, maybe for acupuncture or something, have people on really high dose probiotics because there's this link with the gut and the mind and this mood thing. And so it's really kind of complicated, but we all know it because we say, I had that gut feeling. I felt it in my gut. I felt like I got kicked in the stomach when like something happens to you. So everyone has this innate wisdom of, you know, you have to deal with your GI tract if you want to feel good and be happy. But we didn't know like how it really worked till more recently.
It's so exciting that what it does is it leaves space for that we're influencing our that if we influence our gut health, and that we can do with our diet, then it has an effect on our mood. And it just is like that really creates the food as medicine reality. And that's the part that we love to work on. And we've done a couple of webinars on happiness, and I have done a lot of research in happiness research. And basically the summary of the research shows that if you have a glass, it's a tiny glass, but about 50% of any person's happiness quotient, right? Because we know that there's people who are just naturally super happy, and we often know a couple people in our lives like that, and those people tend to have things happen pretty easily for them. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And then we probably know people in our lives that are much more like the Eeyore types, where it's like there's always the dark cloud, and it's hard for them to kind of manifest with ease. And so it's like, what is that? Why are people so different with their happiness? And what the happiness research has found is that about 50% of a person's happiness is genetic. So that comes directly kind of from their genetic line and lineage. And that can start to make sense to people like, yeah, okay, my parents were innately really happy or not, and that could be an influence, and why sometimes it's the same as siblings, but that's only 50%. And then there's 10% that is our environment. And this is what I find super interesting, because 10% our environment, that means our homes, where we went to school, sort of our how we live, what we do. And it's really interesting because in our society, we tend to focus on optimizing that 10% a lot. Like, if I get the right job, if I have the best relationship, if I have these things, I'm going to be happier. But the truth is our environment is only 10% of our happiness. And the rest of the 40% is our practices, our daily practices, the way our beliefs are, if we have gratitude, if we have a spiritual connection with friends, if we have work we believe in or feel passionate about, and our food and the way we eat and our food choices is part of that 40%. So it's a large amount of our happiness and how we can express our happiness. Do you want to talk while I get stuff ready in the kitchen?
I think a lot of what goes on is that those daily practices that you're talking about aren't something that people think are powerful enough in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because they seem so simple. It's like every day, take 10 minutes to breathe deeply in a quiet space. That sounds very weak. You know, it's like, I mean, really, is that going to do anything? But that's why they call it a meditation practice, because it's, if you do it every single day, you can completely change your brain, you know? So it's really interesting. So if you focus on your diet, those practices you do every day for happiness and health, I think that then all of a sudden people say, wow, I feel so much better. I have so much more energy, etc. And every time we change people's diets, that really happens. I feel like it's almost like no matter what the diet change, if people take a drastic change in diet and either get rid of something that they know is not good for them, or they just drink more water, or maybe they add the probiotics in, all of a sudden within a few weeks they say, I feel so much better. And it's just this like one simple thing. So I think that's really interesting. And you're going to give us some tips in the kitchen on that, but it's really about that 40%. It's like this you can control. And it's really about like, here's my list of things I'm doing every day for myself, and being consistent in doing them, having a practice. That's like the practice part of it.
And that's why we created our detox program, to have 30 days where people can get into the practice of using food as medicine and having practices that soothe themselves. Part of our detox program is really about taking time for yourself for what we call radical self-care and self-love, that if somebody's trying to get pregnant, that learning to relax will set them up for being not only having an easier fertility journey, but being a better parent, because parenting is a stressful act. As I say, as my kids are
These people are swarming around the kitchen because they're wanting some food.
But we created this 30-day detox program, and that's part of what we're here to kind of to encourage people so much to eat and eat well and eat for your health and eat for your happiness. So we just want to show you some of our favorite Cultivate Fertility recipes. So the first one, and Kara, jump in because you know so much about food. I just happen to be the one in the kitchen. And in our courses that I love, our detox course and our diet course, Kara and I spend, I don't know, hours in this kitchen talking to you about how to make fertility plates and bowls and ways to optimize nutrition by the foods you choose. So this is just a really brief, fast way. We want to increase your internal happiness. We want to increase your, well, I always talk about an energy vibration. We're both studied acupuncture, and if you raise your chi, your energy vibration, things are going to come more easily, and we find that fertility feels less difficult the more your vibration is raised. So here we are in the kitchen trying to do some of those things. Do you want to talk about
also, I think about what?
You go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. What were you going to say also?
Oh, I was just going to mention that the things that that you eat and you feel really heavy after, maybe you have a stomach ache or something like that, the things you like to eat in the moment, but maybe you pay for it the next few days or something. Those are the same foods that we think don't really help with your fertility or egg quality. So it would be, sugar, bad quality fats, that whole sort of list of fast food, and the same things that we know to avoid in just a general diet are the same things that also don't help your fertility. So I always like to point that out. If you go out to dinner and have a really heavy meal that was quite salty, and then you have a really big dessert at the end, and you drink some alcohol and all of that, you'll wake up the next day, you won't feel so good. So it's that kind of feeling, like you connect, like, okay, I don't feel really well. Maybe that wasn't so good for me. And then if you really look at the research behind those foods, they're really not good for your potential fertility and maybe trying to get pregnant and have a baby. So it's also just paying attention to those things. Of course, those are habits that are really hard to break. I also think it's really good to think about how just one thing a day as far as a diet focus might make a huge difference in your life. So you could pick sort of any one of the things that you're going to show, Hillary, but it could be as simple as, I'm going to have a bunch of probiotic rich foods in my refrigerator, and I'm going to start adding them into my diet daily, or I'm going to make a smoothie daily, or I'm going to eat more vegetables this week. And if you kind of focus on one thing at a time, it's much easier to do. So I think you have to pick something really easy, right, to start your day with.
Or you also join a program that teaches you and encourages you and motivates you. So that's why I'm like, come on, everybody, join our detox, because it's so much more fun to do something when you're led, and it's easier to maintain changes. But yes, any kind of nudge that you make towards your health is going to make you feel happier. You're going to make more serotonin in your brain. You're going to have more essential fatty acids. That's my dog. She's really cute. She makes me really happy, but she's barking. She's barking at my phone outside.
So the essential.
Okay. Sorry, my doggy is just
Does she cook really well?
It's chaos. She's a great cook.
It's the middle of the day.
So we're going to talk first. We're going to introduce you to the Cultivate Fertility Sunrise Detox Tea. This is in our detox, and many of our clients that we've use this with tend to adopt this as just a regular practice because it uses herbs. It's so easy to make. It starts your day off feeling light and fresh. It helps your detox pathways open up. It helps your GI stay regular. And the herbs are create so much happiness. So one of them is ginger. I just we take fresh ginger, and I just peeled off the edge, just cut off the edge, take a couple chunks of ginger, and then we've got the recipe on our website, cultivatefertility.com, under the blog section. And then all the recipes that I'm referring to today, you can see on the blog section, plus a few more that we love. So, and then this.
Let me pop in on ginger. Okay, so ginger, how does it affect your mood? Ginger is a really good anti-inflammatory. So if you're a person who gets up in the morning, you're kind of slow, your joints hurt, you're kind of groggy, ginger is going to help with that. It's almost as potent as turmeric, the orange spice from Indian food, because it's in the same plant family. They're cousins, the plants. So you can think of it like a really strong anti-inflammatory that has some of the qualities of like acetaminophen or your Advil or something like that. So ginger is really fantastic, but it's a circulatory stimulant that makes your brain get a lot of blood flow, just like coffee. So this tea, often our patients and people who do our detox like to just keep on it instead of the coffee. Because when you're trying to get pregnant, one cup of coffee is probably okay for most people, but it is a stimulant for your central nervous system. And some people don't do well with it. So sometimes people can switch over to this ginger tea, and there's other ingredients that will go through, and then they don't need the coffee. So ginger is kind of an amazing thing that we just don't think of. Sometimes we think of it as a small flavorant, maybe if you get nauseated or something like that, but really it's good every day.
It's medicine. It's a potent medicine, and it's a happiness medicine. I'm like the queen of spilling when I do this, so you can't really see, but here, I'm going to do this. So you just put in a little bit of water. You can't mess this up. You'll see the recipe. And then the second ingredient is cinnamon. Cinnamon is one of our fertility superfoods. It is a potent antioxidant. It is warming. It brings blood flow to the tissue. So a ton of things that we're trying to do at Cultivate Fertility is to stimulate blood flow, especially to your reproductive organs. We want a lot of warmth. I'm sorry, I can't not dance and talk about touch my reproductive organs.
It's so exciting.
I just get excited about circulation increasing and it really increasing our hydration, because we just feel better. If you look at a raisin versus a grape, which one looks more fertile? Or the grape, it's alive, it's like full of fluid, it's ready to go, so we are trying to turn everything, all of your tissues here at Cultivate Fertility into like beautiful grapes. Okay. And that's a weird analogy. That's what's happening. So cinnamon.
That's what's happening today.
That's what's happening.
Cinnamon, can I talk about that? Cinnamon is definitely one of our fertility superfoods. There's some really good research on cinnamon out there for specific insulin resistance and blood sugar regulation. And we think that's really important for ovary health, especially if you have PCOS. So cinnamon is in the medical research and really important for a lot of conditions. And so now a lot of people are putting it on their oatmeal in the morning and really thinking about cinnamon, but it also has this really nice, food mood connection, because just the smell of it, like Hillary got very excited there when you were talking about the cinnamon, because you're feeling it and it's exciting. And I do always think of, walking into my grandmother's house and it's smelling like cinnamon, and it's this wonderful smell to people. So as you cook down the tea, your whole house is just so wonderful and warm and cozy. And so it feels good. It feels really comfortable. It's like a comfort food for people. So cinnamon's awesome in so many ways.
And then we add to the tea. So right now you can't see, but it's boiling on the stove. So you're making a decoction, an herbal decoction, which means that you're taking these hard herbs and you're bringing it to a boil and then slow simmering for about 10 minutes. You need a simmer to bring out the medicinal qualities of these harder herbs versus like peppermint leaves, where you just need to pour hot water over, and what we call an infusion, it just infuses the medicine fast, like chamomile, peppermint. The harder herbs need to simmer for a long time, but like Kara said, it smells divine. So I'll come back to this, but I just want to finish up on the tea. One of the foods that's another one of our, it's a detox superfood, and one of our fertility superfoods is lemon. I know it looks like an orange, but this is...
You're just making this up, right?
This is a variety of a lemon that came from my office in Mill Valley, California. We had this incredible lemon tree, and I mean, it's totally lemon, but look at it.
I have never seen an orange lemon. That's so cool.
So pretty.
Does it smell really good?
It's so yummy and it makes me happy. So like lemon, one of these citrus foods, like we just had a beautiful Instagram post reminding about citrus foods and what citrus does. It's incredibly uplifting and brightening. In a lot of essential oil blends, there's often lemon or neroli orange, or because it's very lifting to the nervous system, to the emotional system. Not to mention, it's a complete superfood for the gut and the liver. It really helps to set up detoxification. So I just want to transition. I'm going to finish making the tea. Remind me, Kara. Well, I'll start to smell it. But what we do is we make these herbs. We bring the herbal water with the concoction with the ginger and the cinnamon. We squeeze a ton of fresh lemon. You can put some cayenne in it. We recommend it during our detox. It's not necessary all the time. And there you have it, your morning sunrise detox tea. It's so fast and easy. You can keep it on the stove for a couple days and just keep adding water to it and pull off a little and keep adding. It's pretty resilient. You can't really mess it up. You can add more cinnamon if you like.
Sometimes people can just use the powdered herbs too, because most people have cinnamon in their house. And if you have ginger powdered, you could just be boiling up some water and putting a little cinnamon powder, a little ginger, squeezing the lemon over it, maybe a little bit of cayenne, and you have your tea right there too, in case you don't have the fresh stuff.
True. Okay, so back to the food as mood. The probiotics is something in fermented foods. So one of our like staples on our fertility plates and that we make in our detox course or our diet course is using a couple tablespoons a day of fermented foods. Kara says 1 tablespoon a day.
1 tablespoon a day is good.
And I tend to use a little bit more, and there's a lot of foods that we can use to get the probiotics. So fermented foods, and again, we had an Instagram post, and I always say we have these beautiful Instagram posts because we have a woman who we love that works with us that creates these beautiful Instagram posts for us, and she did an amazing one on fermented foods. So follow Cultivate Fertility if you haven't yet to see some of this information, but it's about putting good bacteria into our guts to create this to work through our gut-brain axis to create happiness. So one of these this is kind of a fun one. This is called kimchi. And this kimchi in our blog, you can see about fermented foods, or it's coming soon, but in our programs for sure. Yogurts are obviously the most well-known ways of getting probiotics and kind of probably the easiest way people get probiotics. At Cultivate Fertility, we're trying to kind of increase your use of some of these delicious vegan sources of probiotics. This is a great vegan yogurt that we love that has a lot of the active cultures and bacteria in them. We use them in our Cultivate Fertility smoothies, or if you just need a snack, I'm going to show you, we're going to talk about essential oils afterwards, but yogurts are a good way to do it. And if you're using dairy yogurts, cow yogurt, we really recommend that's organic and try to get the plain so it's not full of corn syrup or kind of hormones and pesticides. And kombucha is another way that you can drink your probiotics. This is a low sugar kombucha. If you're sensitive to caffeine, kombucha might not be the thing for you because it uses black tea as a base. But kombucha is another way that you can get a little bit of probiotics into your gut. And sauerkraut. My kids finished the sauerkraut the other day, so I don't have any. But sauerkraut's my favorite things. Pickles is another way that you can do it. You just want to make sure that if you're buying fermented foods to use to increase your probiotics, that you're buying them in the refrigerated section. The ones that are in next to like the ketchup relish sauerkraut, that is not a live food. The live foods that have the active cultures are in the refrigerated section. Kara, I'm sure you have something to say about these foods.
I do. So fermented foods sometimes are a little tough for people to start with. So I always think that's the first hurdle to get over. And it's really interesting because I just talked to someone from Singapore where we were talking about, do you get enough fermented foods and not? And I guess it's with the barbecue meat the fermented foods, it's like every meal when she's sort of going out, that's what they're going out for. So I think that we don't have it in our culture enough. And I have a hard time sometimes getting people started, which is why a little bit at once is a thing. But then they started having beets and carrots and things that are a little sweeter, maybe because they have this sour taste at first. So I think starting with the tiniest bit and just sort of adding it in here, there, and everywhere is kind of the thing to do. And it's been really interesting to see, you know, they even have green beans now. They have really delicious foods and they last a very long time in their refrigerator. So it's really about just getting them and then remembering that they're in your refrigerator and adding them on top of your salads or on top of whatever you're eating. And I think that's just the habit to get in. You're in the habit, Hillary. You've been doing this for years, but sometimes it's a little tough. So that's why, always thinking about taking a probiotic is something that we talk about quite a lot. But as far as mood and food, you need more fermented foods in your life, and everyone's talking about that. And you need the carbohydrates to feed those bugs too. So it's really important to think about, okay, these are live bacteria. What do they eat? We need to give them some of that. So I always have a problem with people who are on the no carb diets, because I have a lot of women come in on them. I just think it's problematic with certain key fertility nutrients they're missing in their diets. And so a totally no carb diet might not be great if you're trying to get pregnant. So we don't have that in the Cultivate Fertility diet. We want these complex carbs that Hillary's pulling out of her refrigerator right now. Her refrigerator is always so well stocked. I love that place. And so sweet potatoes she showed us. She'll probably pull out some parsnips and whatever else. But those root vegetables that are typically fall foods. Oh, look, you have a butternut squash soup or something. It's like, I want to come eat at your house today.
Okay, so I just pulled out, these are what's called prebiotics. And the last time I gave this lecture, there was a question like, what is a prebiotic? And a prebiotic are the foods that feed the probiotics and keep the probiotics active, like she was saying. So it can be any source of fiber. So we really address in our diet programs the amounts of fibers that people are eating, vegetable fibers, and also these carbohydrate fibers. So this is butternut squash, sweet potatoes. And interestingly enough, there's research that shows that these kind of really nice natural sugar, they have natural sugars in them, they're natural carbohydrates, they have a ton of fiber. They directly influence our serotonin and make us happier. They're happy foods. And so they're part of our Cultivate Fertility diet plates. For sure, we want to be eating things that make us happy. I'm going to transition, and they're nutrient dense. I'm getting all these great notes from about prebiotics, but I want to transition to another major source of food is mood using the gut-brain axis. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but it's called, they're essential fatty acids. There are the essential fats that they case the cell membranes basically, and they make cells more fluid. They make things kind of move in and out of the cells. They make cell to cell communication more vibrant, more rich. They basically like make us these electric beings. It's another reason why we really promote healthy fats for our fertility patients. That our Cultivate Fertility diet or Cultivate Fertility Detox, like our programs are pretty high in good fats because they turn on your reproductive system. The fats, saturated fats, cholesterol are the building blocks of our hormones, but these essential fatty acids make us happy. They make us feel less anxious. They make us feel less depressed. It's one of my go-to moves for anybody struggling with anxiety, depression, or any fertility patient. So
right. And I think that's pretty standard practice as far as mood. You know, if you have to think about as far as like a group of foods associated with mood, definitely the fats come up. And because our brain loves fat for energy supply, right? So that's incredibly important. But the research is really interesting for fertility because just changing people's fats and making them these anti-inflammatory fats create such an antioxidant power in the body. So we're always really looking at these sources of, chia seeds and hemp seeds. And are you going to do the sardines?
I'm going to do the anchovies.
The anchovies, okay.
So there's two ways that we can get essential fats, and at Cultivate Fertility, we want you to try to do both, but we are super respectful of our vegan patients and clients and our plant-based eaters. So one, I'm going to teach you a recipe that we love using anchovies, because anchovies tend to be really not a very commonly eaten food unless you're eating a Caesar salad, and often traditional Caesar salad dressings are used with not great fats. So I want to show you one that that works really well, that's full of great healthy fats. And then if anchovies aren't your jam or you're a plant-based eater, then we want to show you a seed mix that we use that uses a lot of potent omega-3s. And the seed mix, again, both of the recipes you can find on the blog at cultivatefertility.com. So Kara, I'm going to just, you mentioned something. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'll talk about the seed mix. So, because even people who eat meat need more of these really good quality fats. So the seed mixture is just a mason jar, and you have really good nuts and seeds, good quality. We try and have them be organic and raw if we can. There's a jar. And a few options would be, and you can go to the website Cultivate Fertility to get the real recipe for it, but you could use walnuts, pepitos, which are those green pumpkin seeds. You can use sunflower seeds. We really like chia seeds and sesame seeds and hemp hearts or hemp seeds. And you just layer them up in your jar, and then you can keep that in the refrigerator. And when you're having your salad or your soup or whatever you're eating, if you're having an omelet for breakfast or whatever it is, you can just add some of this to it. And it's really interesting because it's based in traditional Chinese medicine, really talks about this and has some formulas based around it and increasing fats to regulate hormones. And so does this very traditional thing of seed cycling, which in naturopathic medicine school we learned about. And lots of people find it very helpful, but you don't need to sort of separate out your fats in the month as far as here's the luteal phase and the follicular phase. And we find that you don't need to do that. You can just every day be eating lots of nuts and seeds in your diet, and that'll give you good quality fats and help with your hormone production. The other thing about the seed mixture is it gives you such amazing micronutrients that we do find are missing in a lot of our patients that we're looking at. Why are you having recurrent miscarriages? Why is this happening to you? What's the problem? And we find, you're zinc deficient, you're magnesium deficient. And these nuts and seeds are high in those. So you don't necessarily need to be a meat eater or have dairy products. You can get them from the nuts and seeds.
Okay, I'm going to stop. You're so saying so many great things, and now I want to show them how to make it.
You do it. I'm done.
Okay, if you guys hang out with Kara and I, the two of us were the queens of interruption, and other people are uncomfortable, but we're not uncomfortable. So this is how we've been friends for, 20 years. So is that true? And over.
Let's not say how old we are.
I just want to show you how fun this is to make. And Kara brought up on one of our videos, and I think you can watch us making this on YouTube, Cultivate Fertility, omega-3 fatty acids. I think we're making it on YouTube. But so I just have the black sunflower seeds.
Black sesame seeds.
Black sesame seeds, thank you.
And then white sesame seeds.
And then I'm going to add, I don't have pepitos, which I know you love. I don't have this. But these are hemp hearts. Again, we have this gorgeous Instagram post on hemp hearts saying a lot of the health information, lots of iron and lots of protein and essential fatty acids, vegan sources. Then here I'm going to add a little chia powder because it makes for a fun layer. And then I'm going to add I have sunflower seeds that are salted. I like salted sunflower seeds because it makes them tasty. And then I'm going to do just a quick hit of chia seeds.
And people get stuck on this. They say, they have to be roasted, they have to be raw, like all of this stuff. So the raw ones are probably better for you, but sometimes you just want some roasted nuts. So I'm not totally strict about that, but what we do want is for you to think about organic, because we do find that the chemicals in fats kind of can accumulate those chemicals we want to avoid for bothering our hormone system. So since nuts and seeds are high in fats, we want to buy them organic, just like you want to buy organic dairy products.
So here you have this gorgeous seed mix. Okay, it might not be so colorful or anything, but Kara was saying that she loves to give this as a hostess gift to some of her friends, wraps a bow on it, and if she's going to a dinner party. This is kept in the refrigerator. I just wanted to show you because it's so pretty. But then basically you shake it up and you have this delicious mixture that we add onto our, you'll see if you are looking at any of our programs in our morning detox bowls that's got a kind of a yogurt base or a smoothie base, this gets added, or it's an awesome way to, addition to add just to the top of salads, like Kara said, really increasing the micronutrient density and the essential fatty acid density. Can I just talk really fast? Because I'm seeing it's written about a couple different foods that are serotonin rich foods that support our serotonin and make us feel good, and they're both antioxidants, and that's dark chocolate. So we still like to have a little fun around here, but these are cacao nibs. This is not actually chocolate, it's cacao. It's a different plant. It's full of antioxidants. These can be added to smoothies, and in the chat they were saying that this makes really for happy smoothies. So we have an antioxidant smoothie on our blog post. I'm not making a smoothie today, but we're big believers in smoothies for micronutrient availability, and just kind of, you can throw it all into one thing. It's fast and easy and quick. It's one of the centerpieces of our detox plan and our diet plan, and adding some cacao nibs. So I think the recipe on our blog is cherries and cucumber and spinach and our Cultivate Fertility protein powder and cacao nibs, and it's makes you so happy. You're eating wholesome foods. It's just raising your energetic vibration. It's not taking anything away from you like regular sugar foods are, where you get a quick high and then a deep crash. There's sustained happiness and feelings. Same as, I love this coconut sugar based dark chocolate as well, for just a quick pick me up, for a quick serotonin pick me up. Okay, you talk. I'm going to get ready for the anchovy dressing. So set me up.
I think, okay, anchovy dressing. So she's doing an anchovy dressing so that we get high omega-3s, but I think it sort of comes back to the idea of like, you are what you eat, or food is medicine. This is the whole theme here, is that you can really change the way you feel and your outlook by just adding in these superfoods into your diets daily. And so that's why we like to have the salad dressings. And by the way, if you go to a dinner party with that seed mix, you can bring another jar or two of different salad dressings. And that's really cool because people love it, because your salad dressing always tastes better than something people buy in the store. So if you make this anchovy dressing and show up, they're going to love you.
Yeah, they're going to love you. As soon as we get the double thumbs up, I'm having a dinner party.
Okay. That sounds good.
So these are anchovies. Again, I like to say, and people, I'm sure my friends at Cultivate will get annoyed, but I got to live in Spain for a little while, and people in Spain, they eat these little fish for fun all the time. They go and get a beer and then have little fish. And that's not a big part of our culture. So we're trying to find ways to help our clients have more of this in their diet, but in a way that feels available to us. So this is a little jar of anchovies. It's super cheap. It's like, I think this jar was like under $4. It's packed with so much nutrition and essential fatty acids. You just literally stick, and my son just walked by and he's kind of obsessed with this salad dressing. I used it on a chopped up fresh kale that came from the farmer's market, with a little bit of with some roasted sunflower seeds and some cut up strawberries. It was delicious. So people like it. And I remember Kara when we were recording this video for our detox class, Kara doesn't love anchovies, and I made her taste it on camera, and she actually really liked it. I was like, good move. Okay.
I'm one of the people who takes fish oil every day because I actually don't eat fish. So it was sort of a shocker that this doesn't taste fishy at all. And I can even get my family to eat this now. So it's kind of impressive.
It's impressive. Okay, I love it. So you got your anchovies, and you can see specific measurements on the recipe at the blog at Cultivate Fertility, but I also encourage just like playing. I think the more you play and have fun in the kitchen and you just sort of eyeball things, the easier it is. Usually when we're big salad dressing makers here. Here's another
Yeah, but you're a very experienced cook, so people should go on and get the real recipe to try this first, because Hillary's made these things a million times, which is why she doesn't ever have to measure anything out. But I think this is one that going by the recipe is kind of a key, because it's pretty gross.
You can start to see our different personality types come out when you hang out with us on these webinars and our courses.
I think the fish just scare me a bit, but this dressing is delicious.
Anyway, okay, so I use white wine vinegar. You could use champagne vinegar. You could use apple cider vinegar. It's pretty forgiving. And then this uses some
That's Dijon mustard that I think Dijon is a staple for a few of our salad dressings, and it's a kind of special mustard, so you can't replace that. You have to use Dijon in this recipe, I think.
That's true. Yellow mustard is not quite the same.
No.
And then garlic. Garlic is another one of our fertility superfoods. And right?
Yes, garlic is very good for you in so many different ways.
And it's incredibly detoxifying, and I'm like struggling with my knife. And garlic is antibacterial, it's antiviral.
But it's a circulatory stimulant, so we want the increase in circulation. But fresh garlic is really important to have in the house. I think there's a real difference between the fresh garlic, having a crushing thing is good to have at the house versus, those jars people get in their refrigerator. I just don't think it's the same, or the dried garlic. I just don't think you get the same medicinal effect. It really has to be that fresh garlic that she's kind of chopping up right now.
And this is potent. And so I'm literally just throwing in the whole cloves. It's probably easier if you mince it. And I've made this dressing before without garlic. I just happen to have it. I've made many times without, and it still is delicious. So I did a bunch of cracked pepper because we're pepper junkies. And then this is, you do not need salt in this salad dressing because the anchovies are super salty. This is a blend of avocado and olive oil. I tend to blend my oils when I make salad dressings to increase the nutrient density, and it makes the taste feel a little bit smoother than if you're using just olive oil. And I'm running out of oils because we've been cooking so much at home and eating so much.
That's what we do now.
And like all great dressings can use some lemon. Lemon just brightens it up. It acidifies the dressing even more. And these acids and fat really help the absorption of the vegetables. So
let's take that kale salad you're talking about. So kale is a little bit of a harder green to get the minerals out of, which is why people used to always say to steam the kale. Steamed kale sometimes goes a little bit better for people. Now everybody can find baby kale at their grocery store, but if kale gives you GI upset or a little bit of gas or something, just go for the baby kale, or maybe steam it a little bit, because it is really nutrient dense. But to get the minerals like the zinc, the magnesium out of the kale, and especially iron if we're talking about fertility issues, you do need acid. And so in what Hillary just made, she had the vinegar and the lemon juice. But I do find that I catch sometimes that people don't do much with vinegar or lemon juice on their greens. So if you're eating arugula, kale, spinach, anything like that, you really do want an acid. And sometimes people put kale and spinach in their smoothies. So in that case, you really do want to have strawberries that have a high acidic content so that you can absorb those minerals. So I find that in a lot of my vegan, vegetarian patients that we need to pull those minerals a little bit out of the greens better, because even if you're eating greens every day, maybe you don't have enough stomach acid to break down the non-heme kind of iron, etc. So I think that the lemon juice is kind of this old grandmother trick of, the Italian grandmother did the arugula salad. They knew to just drizzle it with lemon juice. And I think we kind of lost that in our culture somehow. So make sure it's acidic, your salad dressings. And you know what else really helps are those fermented foods. So if you put some of the fermented food on the greens, it helps to absorb the minerals too.
So you guys can't smell this, but it smells so bright because of the lemon, and it's just it doesn't smell or taste fishy. This keeps in the refrigerator for a good long time, for like 5 to 6 days. So I try to make a batch of it and have it in the fridge. We try to really promote having fresh made homemade salad dressings. It's a big part of our detox and our diet protocol. So
And
this
you
is
store them in glass. Notice the glass
vinaigrette.
container.
Yeah, I made this vinaigrette yesterday. Now I'll have my anchovy dressing so that when I'm going to make dinner and I'm tired and we're hungry, it's easy to make nutrient dense food, because good food equals good moods, and really having these good fats makes your fertility, your pregnancies, your families, everything just happier. I think, I feel like we've kind of talked their brains off at this point. So
That's
we're
good.
going to let you go. But if this is interesting to you or you want more, go find more information on our blog. You can see some YouTube videos of us making more food. And really, please join our 30-day detox. We're just opening it up online. It's going to go live probably tomorrow or the next day. You can it's an incredible program that teaches you how to eat to really help you along your fertility journey, and not even about your fertility, about your health and creating healthy practices for your family, and really using food as medicine to make you have a good mood out in this very interesting world right now. I love you, Kara.
Hillary. Bye.
Bye, everybody. You know what? Before I say bye, if you want to hang on and ask any questions in the chat, if there's any questions, we're totally happy to hang out and answer any questions that anybody has, if there's anything in the chat. And also, if you want to ask us questions, you can join our Facebook group. We have a Cultivate Fertility group that we are active in and answer questions if there's anything you want to know specifically.